Hey guys, welcome back to the Hot Mess Medium Show. Thank you so much for being here. I am so excited to share this message that has been placed on my heart. Actually, it was placed on my chart. On my chart. Oh, frig. Oh my god. I'm not restarting this, you guys. Okay. It was placed on my heart this morning while I was in the shower. Okay, because I like to tune in while I'm showering, and I find I get the best messages and downloads while I'm in the shower. Maybe it's something about like the kind of white noise effect that the shower gives. And also, I will say too that water is a powerful amplifier for your intuition. Just FYI, being in a body of water and near a body of water is really powerful. So anyways, I digress. So I was in the shower and, I was tuning into how I could be of service today. And what came through was to, record a podcast episode about insecurities. And that just feels so fitting right now because over the weekend, I definitely had a huge wave of insecurities wash over me. And, even though it was an amazing weekend, like incredible incredible even. I still had them, and I think it's so important for me to talk about. And I also am just receiving these insights that, you know, these messages that I'm about to share are very divinely timed right now. Like they're needed right now. And, which reminds me, of course, that when I'm moving through certain things, most of the collective is also moving through certain things, especially my listeners and my community. So, 9 times out of 10, that's what happens is I'm going through it. You guys are going through it too. So yeah, let's talk about it. It's kind of an uncomfortable subject. Like no one wants to admit that they're insecure, although I don't mind admitting that. And actually, it's probably a good thing that I'm talking about this because I have noticed that there are a lot of people who are surprised when they learn that about me. That I can be insecure and that I have a lot of insecurities. And they're surprised by that because of all that I do, of how I show up, right? I speak in front of large audiences. I speak on here. I show up in my stories, no matter how I'm looking. Yes, sometimes I use filters. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I have a face full of makeup. Sometimes I am, barefaced. But anyways, aside from all of that, as I said, people are often surprised because of how much I do, how much I've done, how I show up, how I speak, all the things, right? But I do have insecurities and I am insecure. I just don't let those stop me. That's the only thing. That's the difference. That's the secret formula. I have them. I acknowledge them. I am aware of them, but they do not prevent me from taking action. They do not prevent me from saying yes or for putting myself out there or for showing up, right? I do those things with my insecurities in tow. They come along with me for the ride. And that's like such a huge misconception, right? So many people they truly, truly believe this. And I did at one time too, that, oh, I have to wait until I'm no longer insecure to do that. I can't do that because I'm too insecure. That'll be for future me who's more confident, right? I'm curious if you've ever told yourself one of those things. Like I'm just going to wait until I have the confidence. But you guys, that confidence never just like plopped itself down onto me. That never happened. Confidence is something you accumulate and gain over time. It is through pushing past your comfort zone, moving past the insecurities and doing the things anyways that help you exercise your nervous system and your capacity and your ability to be able to do hard things while having the insecurities, right? Confidence is something that just slowly over time you start to gain. But it's as you are moving forward. No one ever gains it from just waiting for it to come or praying for it to come. Guess what? If you pray for confidence, guess what you're getting? You're getting a series of opportunities to help you gain confidence. Very uncomfortable ones. And that's life. That's part of it. That's exactly what led me to where I am now. I was scared shitless the very first time I spoke in front of an audience. Even if it was like 5 people, 3. I remember being scared of speaking in front of 3 people. I remember calling that a group reading because I had 3 people coming over. And that to me was like such a big deal. I celebrated the shit out of that. I was so proud of myself. So I went from 3 people, and I think the most amount of people physically, like in person, that I've spoken in front of was just under 100. Online, I've had hundreds of people watching my lives, but that's different. It is different. There is such a huge difference between those numbers online and those numbers right in front of you. That's for sure. But anyways, I remember having the biggest insecurity about my voice and how I spoke. Huge, huge insecurity. Fear even. I will go as far as calling it a fear. And I felt guided to start my own podcast. This was like my very first one. It was called the Wake Up with Natasha podcast. Some of my OG listeners will know what I'm talking about. And I did it. Like, it was so imperfect, and yet everyone loved it. I remember that being the thing that kind of exploded my business way back then, because I just did it. And I admitted to being scared. I admitted to having this insecurity of using my voice. And, I was just honest about it. I was real about it. And I did it while scared and while super insecure. And then over time, I just became more and more comfortable with it. Because again, it's this accumulation. It's this evolution, right? It's just something that you have to go through to grow through, right? You have to grow through these experiences and push past those uncomfortable feelings. And it's so important to remind your brain that just because it's uncomfortable, it doesn't mean you're going to die. Because that's sometimes what our brains convince us of, right? That like caveman brain, it's like, don't do that, you're going to die. When it's like, no, actually I'm not. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but I got to start somewhere. And I think that's what the message that like God is trying to push through me for everyone is, you've got to start somewhere. Everyone has to. Everyone. This is a collective thing. It's not even an individual thing. It's literally a collective thing. This is something for everyone. Literally everyone has to start somewhere. Everyone has a day 1 at the gym. Everyone has a day 1 at that new class. Everyone has a very first podcast episode, which is probably super cringy, but that's okay. If you're not cringing at your past self, are you even growing? I mean, really, are you even growing if you're not cringing at like the very first photo you took, the very first photo shoot that you did? Whatever it is, you have to start somewhere. So like, the other thing to be aware of is like, okay, everyone is insecure at this stage. Literally everybody. But you just gotta push through that. and prove to yourself how resilient you really are. Prove to yourself what you're capable of. And there's no other way to get there than to go through it. This past weekend, I had this incredible opportunity to officiate a wedding about 3 hours away. So in a place I've never been before. And I even got to stay in a hotel room because the rehearsal was the night before. And I was surrounded by all of these incredible vendors who they just like knew their shit. Like they were like the best of the best. The venue was absolutely stunning. It was incredible. Everything just felt such like high value. I don't know what the like other word is for that, but it was just, I don't know, just like being in that space. I was like, am I meant to be, like, am I worthy of being here? Like, I don't feel like I'm at the same level as everyone yet. I was kind of seeing like where I want to be, where I'm going, but it's like I felt like, but I'm not there yet, but at the same time I'm here right now. I'm getting emotional talking about this. I didn't realize I felt that way. It's so funny what you can discover when you verbally process. And I just tend to do that with you guys. So thank you. Thank you for listening and holding space as I do that. But anyways, so yeah, I noticed like I had so many insecurities and like, I was looking in the mirror and I could, like, it doesn't matter what I do with makeup. It's obvious, well, to me anyways, that, one of my eye holes are significantly smaller and I've got a big scar there. And that's just like, there's something I have to accept. Right? And I don't know if I said this in the beginning or not, but there's just so much power in acceptance. Like accepting that it is the way it is, but also accepting that, okay, I am insecure about this. Yes. But like I refuse to allow that insecurity to stop me or hold me back in any capacity, And then, yeah, there's just, again, those insecurities of like, it's just like not feeling like I'm experienced enough or good enough, or I've been doing this long enough. And also the comparison, right, of seeing other people doing their job so well. And from the outside, them looking like they have so much confidence. And like, I was just in awe of everyone. It was just incredible. It really was. But yeah, I noticed like I was kind of picking at myself and yeah, but you know what? I did it anyways. I That's what I do. I do it anyways, but I notice the insecurities, right? So where am I going with this? Why am I sharing about this? I think it's just that reminder that like obviously I was meant to be there if I was there. And there's a reason I was being shown what I was being shown. I could see myself being at that level, at that same level that these other vendors were at. And I could see myself being invited to these incredible spaces like I was, like I was there, and meaning I was meant to be there. And so that's for a purpose. And I was being shown what is possible for me. And that's what I need to take away from it. That's what I need to focus on versus all the insecurities and not enoughness and comparisonitis that came up. It's like you can acknowledge that it's there, but what's the bigger picture here? I think that's another part of the message that I meant to share with you guys. It's like, okay, yes, acknowledge the insecurities, of course, but don't feed into them. Don't give them your power. Don't let them call the shots, right? what's the bigger picture here? What is this situation teaching you right now? What is this showing you? As I just said that, I look at the time and it's 3:33. I love that. Um, Anyways, so that's like my biggest takeaway from that. And I hope that you can also kind of reflect on what your insecurities are there to teach you, and what is the, like, when you kind of like zoom out of them, what is the bigger picture here? The other thing is, like, can you show yourself some grace? Can you give yourself permission to suck at something the very first time you do it, just like every other human being on this planet has had to deal with? I have sucked at many things, or just been not so great at many things, because it was my first time. Even if it's something I was led to do, it was, divinely guided, it was super aligned for me. Even then, I still wasn't super amazing at it the first few times, or even more than that. That is normal. It is very, very normal. Even like the other thing coming through is like going to a workout class, right? How many of us avoid doing that? Being in a community setting, in a group setting, around other women or just other like-minded individuals, because we're insecure. But it's like, you don't think they're insecure, but they're just pushing themselves to go anyways. The other thing is, guys, I realize, like, when I go to those classes, they're not looking at me. They are not looking at me. They're there to look at the instructor, and learn from them. Like, people aren't looking at you and dissecting you and tearing you apart the way that you do to yourself. And that's like a really hard pill to swallow, but it's so true. It is so true. People aren't paying as much attention as you think they are. They really aren't. They don't care as much as you do. They don't notice as much as you do. They have their own lives. They have their own shit to deal with. They have their own insecurities. And that realization, like when that came through for me a long time ago, that was like liberating to realize that. So liberating. I was like, oh, damn. Okay, yeah. Obviously, like, that's so true. People don't care about those things, or notice those things, or judge those things as much as I do, like, towards myself. And so that's another, loving reminder for whoever needed to hear it. The thing is, you could be doing something for the very first time, or you could be super new at something, but if you fake it till you make it, if that person, that you're working with, or who is witnessing you, or whatever, or listening, they're not going to know that unless you tell them. You know what I mean? I learned that when I was doing aesthetics. I was like so afraid that, they're going to think this and whatever, because I'm newer, and like, oh my God, what if I screw this up or forget about this? But then, yeah, I learned that actually they're not going to even notice, because like, you're the only one noticing. Like, you're the only one who's super fixated on everything being perfect, and it's totally okay. Being human means being imperfect. Being human means needing to learn from mistakes. Being human means needing to have opportunities to experience things in order to learn and grow. And that's just part of life. And once again, when you find acceptance with that, even, there's power there. You will gain confidence over time. But even the best of the best aren't, 99% confidence and 1% insecurity. Like, even the best of the best out there have a handful, if not more, of insecurities. Again, they just don't allow those insecurities to control their lives. So, how to wrap this up? If you, have these insecurities coming up and they are holding you back from saying yes, from taking action, from, doing all the things, whatever it is, you just have to practice, like take baby steps past your comfort zone, little by little, like a realistic, teeny tiny amount that allows you to actually do it, not scaring the crap out of you where you avoid it altogether. Unless you're like me and need to just jump right in, because I am someone who sometimes has to do that. Sometimes I do have to just like rip off the Band-Aid and I've got to dive right in. But that's like, I know myself enough to know that I have to do that. So many times I've had to decide on a date for an event and put it out there, and then I would freak out about it. Because I knew myself enough to be like, okay, I have to set it in stone. I've got to decide here and now. I've got to make it public, and then I'll freak out after. But it's one of those things, like, you've got to know yourself enough, and you've got to have that level of discipline with yourself too. Like, you got to be so real with yourself, because you could say, oh yeah, I'll sign up for that, and then never actually fucking show up, right? Like, that it's too easy to do that. And be real with yourself. Think back, like, you probably have a pattern. You probably have a pattern of either avoidance or yeah, whatever it is. So just be real with yourself. The other thing I want to share, and this is actually probably the last thing because I have to go pick up my kids now from the bus stop. Insecurities are a thief. They are a thief of joy, of time, of presence, of memories and experiences. Insecurities are a thief. Do not continue to allow your insecurities to steal from you, to rob you from what you are so worthy and deserving of. Do not allow them to rob you of taking action or pursuing your passion or saying yes to those experiences and those opportunities, or that change, the change that you know will be better for you, for your kids, for your life. Don't let insecurities win. And remember that it's okay to do hard things while being insecure. It's okay to do anything while also having insecurities. That's normal. They're going to be there. They're going to show up. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to have uncomfortable feelings in your belly, in your legs. But you can do it. It's not going to kill you. You can do it. And you will gain confidence little by little over time. I'm going to leave you with that. I hope it's the little pep talk that you needed. We got this. Okay? We got this. I'm sending you so much love. And yeah, let me know if, this was divinely time for you, if you needed to hear this. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.